cherry on top of his performance so far, really cementing that he has gotten both the physical game down as well as the mental game. And the man in question is in the top right of Oxide, playing for Cascade Esports. He is SKillous. And he messed up.
That's a good sign. That's a great sign. I love that that happens also right after, like, not just the physical side, but also the mental side. Immediately boxes all of his workers to one patch. Oh, no. Well, down over here on the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have the blue Terran player. You know him, you love him. He is Big Gabe.
It was the fastest caster curse result I've ever seen. Just immediately as I'm talking about it. It's amazing.
Well, Zombie Grub, when he loses because he has one less zealot than he needs in the base trade, you can actually blame it right on that moment right there. So
I just wish, I hope that look at that. That one person out there, like, you know, they're like total lurkers, but they've actually been keeping track of all the games of StarCraft that have been commentated. And they have like a collection of times where the caster went, well, that probably won't matter very much, but we'll see. And then it turns into like the 45-minute base trade. I hope there's someone out there who's just waiting for their time to shine.
Don't worry, I'm pretty sure that there is that person, because all you have to do is basically have an empty notepad. And I'm pretty sure you're set.
Yeah, well. This is a little bit interesting, actually. This probe, I mean, I thought maybe it was going to continue moving on. Actually stops around the third base and might be producing the tech there to really throw HeRoMaRinE off, or actually just doing the old PvP thing where he just sets the pylon somewhere else to throw HeRoMaRinE off.
I really like that. Yeah. So the only thing that I wonder about, and I guess it's maybe not as massive of a concern these days, but I do wonder if, yes, you're going to make it look like a proxy potentially, but having the pylon over the third, I know like when you open up as a Protoss player, you do have like your first pylon go up in your main base, of course, as normal, you see over there. And then usually your second pylon's either also in your main base or it's over at your natural. I wonder if he's going to actually have trouble like with how spread out his pylons are going to be if there was early aggression. But I say that and we see that there's just like a handful of Marines being made. We got the factory coming on out. It's not like there's going to be, you know, some Marine Marauder push or anything.
Yeah, if this was ladder, you might be kind of scared on having a pylon available on the front of that natural nexus. But as it is not, and even more specifically, it is HeRoMaRinE known for at best mid-game, or let's say like post 5 or 6 minute aggression, right? Maybe like a tank push, something like that. But definitely that early game cheese. Yeah, it's something that he is just trying to get the mental leg up against HeRoMaRinE. But HeRoMaRinE actually really, I mean, he's not really seemed to have done anything. Like, he hasn't gone for any additional scouting. He's going for a Hellion scout now. But, like, he didn't go around looking for proxy pylons. So I'm actually wondering if that truly affected him. And this Hellion should actually get a confirmed scout. The stalker can't block everything. Yep, and that's going to say, okay, everything is as normal. Oh, and it's also Phoenix.
And spotting out both of them are already out. That first Hellion getting sniped off is not the biggest deal in the world, but it is definitely going to be nice to at least shut down a tiny bit of that extra scouting later on, as these Phoenix basically sees control of the map from now. It's only going to be Marines and a Cyclone out, so the Phoenix really do just get to lift up. You know, I was going to say SCVs, but yeah, if you find stray Marines, you can go for that instead.
Yeah, HeRoMaRinE's going to have, of course, the typical defense we see against the Phoenix, but he's also got this medevac, which could either try and circumvent the Phoenix, so cheeky, force a recall, hopefully get out and then tangle with the Phoenix just by themselves, or he could actually just do a push with a medevac involved. He's going to continue producing Cyclones, you know, like hiding his tank, and actually this Cyclone might just grab the Phoenix. Oh, that high ground vision. But yes, that is actually a pretty important difference. HeRoMaRinE even skipped the Reaper, by the way, in the early game, so he really does have like a bit of a faster push here, or faster production on the factory, and he is going to use it to try and punish SKillous. Now, this has actually been a really big trend, especially it feels like with HeRoMaRinE and his TDPs. The Protoss players are playing a lot of Phoenix games, even trying to get, you know, good old carriers against him like Goblin has, and he's been like, no, I'm not gonna let you even get there. I'm gonna punish you. And so SKillous, I would hope, actually is anticipating this, but I guess the ferociousness of it is still in question. This might still actually do a lot of damage.
Yeah, this is honestly reminiscent of last season again, and this is one of the ways that HeRoMaRinE actually ended up coming back in that series. Phoenix already used a lot of their lifts on those SCVs, and they have Marines on the other side of the map, so the Phoenix are not even actually getting too involved just yet, especially with how many Marines there are over here. For HeRoMaRinE, that shield battery overcharge is really keeping those Adepts alive. Phoenix come back in. It looks like one of them can take a lot of damage from that Cyclone. The shield battery overcharge keeps it alive, though. And my God, that shield battery overcharge is the MVP of defending this attack. And I think it's actually going to be enough for him to push this back.
Yeah, I mean, it is still a bit of a trade, right? Like, this is lasting a long time. This forced out the defensive maneuvers, those shield batteries, a lot of warp-ins. I mean, it still did something, and even it still escapes, right? Which is something that the Phoenixes usually really don't want to let happen. They want to be able to chase everything down. So at the end of the day, I mean, I still don't mind the push. It did go favorably for SKillous, though, if we check the resources lost. And he does get away with a fairly fast Nexus that is now fully saturated, going into lots of charge lots, rebuilding his Phoenix count. He's going to dominate the game for the next little while because, well, HeRoMaRinE can't do anything without Stim.
Yeah, just having that security and knowing, like, okay, I know I just killed a lot of your army and you don't have Stim coming out for a bit, like, that does give the Protoss player the ability to almost be like a greedy Zerg player. You get to go into all of your tech, you know, add on the double forge. Wouldn't even mind if you added on, say, like a Templar Archives or something, or a Robotics Bay if you really wanted to go into Colossus. Just getting all your transition set up, because your Phoenix are controlling the map anyways. You're continuing to put on some pressure, and you don't have to worry about an attack for at least another 1.5 to 2 minutes.
Exactly. I mean, when the attack happens, it might still be something to, you know, you gotta take it seriously, right? Because it's going to have at least one upgrade. And in this case, it definitely is going to be only that one upgrade. But SKillous, he did push off his forges, so he got really, you know, quite fast there at Nexus, actually. And then Phoenix Charge. One thing he doesn't have is upgrades. So Phoenix Charge lots, it's supposed to fall off as time goes on. And then additionally, if it's without those upgrades, it's really not going to look that pretty. But I think HeRoMaRinE knows that his position really isn't the one that can control the game for any time soon, or even when he has all of his upgrades finished, he's the one that's still going to be in a little bit of trouble. He's lacking information on what the progress of SKillous is going to be. Is he all-inning me? Or is he actually getting technology and going up the Templar Archives and Robos? The answer is the latter, but SKillous is even going to posture and see if he can find anything with an army. But it's slow warp-ins. The upgrades aren't going to be done. This really just seems like a poke. It's like, can I? And I think the answer is no, you can't. But we'll see what SKillous can do.
You know, I really want to agree with you, Zombie Grub. I really hope that is what SKillous is doing over here. I mean, he does have a pretty sizable army. And with Guardian Shield, it's going to keep these ults alive. But the problem is, charge lots are not great at doing non-committed attack. We see massive damage from the Widow Mines over there. The charge lots just evaporate. Force fields desperately used to try and cover an escape path. It looks like he feels like he can fight at the choke point, but I think he's going to end up maybe trading an Archon and a couple of Zealots over there on that escape for that.
Yeah, it was a little bit scary. He ran a force field, you know, and it's almost lucky that he's able to escape with what he can. Another force field, just last ditch. Why not try and attempt to save these sentries, but they are in fact going to go down. And I just don't think that was the right maneuver. I really didn't mind the idea of posturing or trying to get a couple of cheeky Zealots in and kill a couple of SCVs before HeRoMaRinE responds. But especially with those Widowmine hits, man. Like, maybe if those Widowmine hits weren't so fantastic, it's a little bit more of a question, but they were really, really great. SKillous was not prepared for them. And that has resulted in not just the, the supply lead you see for HeRoMaRinE here, but also the advantage he has taken now, pushing across the map, realizing he has a moment here. Can he get ingrained to a decent position? 3 Widowmines burrow. The Zealots have to be careful about this.
Those Zealots probably have PTSD and are a little bit resistant to charging on forward. It looks like they do manage to avoid the Widowmine hits, but the rest of the Stalkers take that. And Zombie Girl, quite frankly, SKillous is ultra dead right now.
Yes, he is. The mass charge lot game not working out. HeRoMaRinE had already been able to burrow so many Widowmines as well, such as they all went off. And then he was also in a really great position the Zealots could not take advantage of. Unfortunately, SKillous is going to be losing game number 1. I thought the game plan was solid enough until that attack, you know, actually committing to that attack. But I guess his eyes got wide. He focused in on the idea that HeRoMaRinE was retreating, thinking, I got this. And then just maybe wasn't really accounting for A, Widowmines. Those are the real heavy hitters. But even B, just like, okay, that was upgraded bio. They did have combat shields. They did have Stim. he was controlling. It wasn't a big surprise. Like, those are things that, unless the army is really small, yeah, you're probably not going to win with that brute force method.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. And I think the other thing about that kind of army and doing the pokes, like, I actually don't hate the idea that he does that move out. And like you said, you know, if HeRoMaRiNE's out of position, you kind of posture forward, you get like 2-3 zealots into the mineral line. And then as soon as the army arrives, you like back off. I'm always a little bit scared when a Protoss player that has 85% of their army just in charge lots tries to do a poke and actually commits at all. Because the charge lots, they charge forward. They don't get to charge backwards, Zombie Grub. The Zealots do not like being defensively charging backwards and retreating. So like you charge in and then you're just kind of there. And like the Zealots don't really get to run away. Like that's what scares me about those attacks. And I think you can absolutely pull it off. I'm totally with you on that. I just think like as soon as he committed, I'm like, oh no. Oh no, like he has to have this work now.
Yeah, they're very brute force. You know, the retreat might be successful because they're still tanky even on the retreat, but not if they get hit by Widow Mines.
Yeah.
Again, it was just the real kicker there. Up, taking that first game as we move into Death Aura in the bottom right corner. We got the blue Terran, HeRoMaRiNE.
And up in the top left-hand side of the map, we have the red Protoss player from Team Cascade. He is SKillous.
It's one of those things, too, that, like, I think it can control the pacing of the game. It is what I feel like SKillous was kind of supposed to do with that. If it was just straight up Phoenix charge lot and a very, like, safe game, one that was, like, that not much happening before it, which did. We had that Cyclone fight on the third base. Then, yeah, it's supposed to get a bop in the middle of the map, right? We talk about that. It's supposed to say like, oh yeah, come after me with your stim push, and then go, no, just kidding, and then it just envelops the bio army. HeRoMaRiNE was not going to be doing that because he had already done a push, right? That didn't necessarily get what it wanted to do. So SKillous then, I mean, I think has to adapt to that. The idea that like he won't be able to just overwhelm an aggressive HeRoMaRiNE because HeRoMaRiNE's like, well, I gotta wait for stim, I gotta, you know, protect myself against anything that you might be doing. So I feel like when that occurs, the charge lot Phoenix player is just supposed to be like, well, I can always threaten you. I can always have these like 25 zealots that are around the map trying to find your army and trying to make sure that you don't get into, well, just the position he got into, right? But instead he threw away so many that it was just like the easiest thing in the world for HeRoMaRiNE to be like, well, yeah, I just win now, right? There was no fear there. And even when it did come back to like a good number of zealots, 25 zealots trying to charge in, they were up against like 6 Widow Mines and they were already out of position. So I just really think that SKillous could have played a more tactical game, even though we don't usually like think of that when we think about charge lots. They are so brute force. But if he had played perhaps more into the idea of like trying to control HeRoMaRiNE while getting a macro game back at home, I think we could have actually had a much longer game, even though HeRoMaRiNE was getting to everything he was supposed to, you know, 2-2 and a bigger bio army.
Yeah, and to some degree, I think that's going to probably be a bit of a comfort for SKillous, who probably recognizes what went wrong that game. And, you know, if you say like the strategy, the raw strategy that you're employing, the build orders that you're choosing are wrong or bad for the situation, I feel like that's always a lot harder to change, right? Because like, this is what I practice. This is what I do. If it's a tactic that you're changing, it's a lot easier to adapt that during a series. So hopefully SKillous is going to be able to walk away from that game and still feel a little bit of comfort saying, okay, the thing that went wrong that game is fixable. I don't have to alter my entire identity for like what I thought I was going to do this like tournament or this series or anything. I just have to alter the way I approach this actual play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that is something that you can, I mean, again, like you're probably never going to get the exact same scenario because it's just not supposed to happen in StarCraft really. But yeah, like again, tactically you can change your mind. And another thing that was odd about that push too, just to like wrap it up, was that he was investing into so many technologies back at home that really, if you look at the production tab, it did not reflect what we saw on the actual screen. The production tab said macro and intention to play a longer game, and the thing on the screen said, let's just all in, which is very, very weird. But yeah, SKillous can certainly change that up. Maybe he got a little ahead of himself, or they thought he was in quite a good position when it was like a an okay position, and perhaps he just thought he couldn't retreat. It's one of those things where you're like, yeah, this will work, and then two Widowmines pop off. But he's already changed up his build a little bit, and it is already going a little bit poorly. That Oracle getting bopped immediately.
Doesn't even get the mule zombie grab. Like, can't even get the free units of that one. Oh, that's a tough beat, but well, he at least knows that there are going to be those Widowmines out, and two Widowmines already making their way across the map. So HeRoMaRinE had left the third Widowmine back in that mineral line in order to snipe off any potential oracles. And with this Oracle also getting deflected, he throws down a Revelation on the Viking. He's going to be able to get up the defenses versus those Widowmines, right? He's going to have enough Phoenix to lift those up, right?
Yeah, it's always questionable. I mean, it's one of those things, again, I always say it, when it's like Widowmine drops or Banshees have the similar effect where it's like, well, technically, if everything goes perfectly, if they always know where every unit is, then yeah, but that's so unlikely to happen. The Banshees always seem to get 10 probes, and the Widowmines always seem to get to burrow. So the first two Widowmine drop really should not be doing a lot of damage, but it already looks like it will. SKillous is absolutely not paying attention. Getting 4 probes could have been a lot worse, but the main base also a little late in that pool, got a split. Ooh. Okay, only 2, but then the front push is also happening, and that's why SKillous was distracted.
Yeah, he was busy using his Oracle to Revelation this army, see it moving across the map. We end up seeing that there are 3 shield batteries coming down, but there's only 3 gateways. There's no Robo. It's just the Phoenix going to be made from the Stargate. This is simply, purely not that many units, so the shield battery overcharge is the only thing I think SKillous is really going to be able to rely on, but during that, his Widowmines are actually just getting so much damage done.
Yeah, I mean, he's lucky they're not getting amazing shots, but they're still getting quite good shots, and they're still alive. I thought you were going to mention there was only 1 pylon with 3 shield batteries, man. I thought that was going to be sniped for sure. And speaking of 1 pylons, 2 gateways also being powered by a single one. This is now away from the shield batteries on the left side. Right side could still try and retreat into him, but HeRoMaRinE sees an opportunity and is going to continue pushing, and perhaps is going to win this game.
Yeah, you were mentioning those pylons. Once these Zealots and the Stalkers go away, like you said, there's 1 pylon for the shield batteries. There's 1 pylon for half of the gateway production. Like, that's... Wow. HeRoMaRinE takes a very quick 2-0 lead in this best-of-5 series and says, no. I'm going to find every little opening that you have. Every tiny thing that you do wrong is going to be extremely exploited. Really, really well played there by Big Gabe.
Now looking a bit like the old HeRoMaRinE, just like not just 3-0ing his opponent, but also just like absolutely clobbering him. And that's a little scary. Hopefully SKillous can take this break to, I guess, get his head together, showing us another build as we move on to Lightshade. But first, we got to go to that break. When we come back, it is potentially the last map of the series.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving into game number 3 here of our first series of the day. It's been a very quick couple of games where SKillous has been opening up very quickly with these Stargate openings. Seems like he gets into an okay position and then just HeRoMaRinE shuts him down hard. We'll see whether or not he can make some adjustments as we move into game number 3 here on Lightshade.
Yeah, I think that first game was more in line with his plans. He was like Stargate opener, control it a little bit, anticipate HeRoMaRiNE's attack on my third, dealt with it, and then the rest of the game didn't go well for SKillous. That last game, though, that was a bit more kind of start to finish, right? With the Oracle dying as quickly as it did, that really just set the tone for the rest of the game, and it forced SKillous to adapt when you're like, actually, it's been a while since I've seen the first Oracle get bopped by the first Widowmine, if I'm being honest. So that was a surprise, and not just to the player, but to us too.
All right, well, we're going to be starting down here in the bottom right-hand side of the map, top of the blue Terran player from Mouse Sports. He is HeRoMaRiNE.
In the top left for Cascade Esports, he is the Red Protoss, SKillous.
I was saying this to you during the break, but I'm kind of hoping that SKillous doesn't go for another Stargate opening quite the same way, because I feel like it just hasn't quite been working out the way he would like. I guess you could argue that game number 1 was going fine, outside of, when he went for the big attack, but I don't know. I'd like to see maybe a mix-up here, but I don't know. What do you think?
I understand where you're coming from, but it does seem like a lot of Protoss players want to go for those Stargates, and they are totally willing to play against a HeRoMaRiNE that has shown good strategies against Stargates. Like, it's not like SKillous came in here and was like, wait a minute, Stargate's not good, you guys? Like, hold on. Like, there's a reason they're doing this thing. Yeah. And he did change it up even last game a little bit by going from Phoenix into an Oracle and then trying to expedite the rest of the process. But because it was such a slam dunk defense from HeRoMaRiNE, it really got very awkward very fast. Like, if he had gone for a Phoenix opener, funnily enough, last game, he doesn't lose the Phoenix. His Phoenixes need more than just a Widowmine hit to die. And that actually might have been better than the situation he had. But I don't know, like, if you're in your last life this quickly in the series, I don't know what's better, going for something that you've practiced for, continuing your game plan, right, for the third game that you probably built up before you got into this, or saying, yeah, I have to do something else like a Twilight Council opener or a Robo opener, and then we're on Lightshade, which I don't know. I haven't seen this, like, it's not the most picked map compared to the other ones, but do you stop going for a Stargate here? I would say usually yeah, and actually, yeah, okay, he's going to go for Twilight Council. So it might be a map, might be the change up, just the fact that he's down 0-2, but we got something different.
All right, well, I'm on board with it regardless of the reasoning, but we'll see whether or not it actually ends up panning out. We got a probe in a very sneaky position up here in the top right-hand side of the map. Thought it might try and go in for like a late poke or something, or a proxy pylon, but looks like it's maybe just going to be returning on home. Question's going to be, I guess, usually the Twilight Council is going to be used for blink openings and stuff. Is that what we're going to end up seeing over here as the Reaper makes its way forward? Sees Twilight Council, sees its startup research. It is going to be blink.
That was really cool with the probe. I mean, you still get the scout, but the fact that it doesn't get to enter into the probe line and maybe escape, like, that was actually pretty cool. Yeah, so blink opener with, I was going to say, a fairly fast second gateway. There's the Robo also trying to complete that forward wall off. So nothing weirder. And since it is only 2 gateways, it really is nothing weirder. So a faster third nexus and then trying to play out the macro game. This is one of the shorter maps alongside Submarine in the map pool from natural to natural. And HeRoMaRiNE, just because it isn't a Stargate doesn't mean that he can't go for an early push. I do think he will take the opportunity not to, though, and just get his own macro game going. So theoretically, SKillous only has to worry about a Widowmine drop. You can, in a perfect world, completely deflect that and then not have much to worry about afterwards until the Sim and Combat Shield is done.
Yeah, and he should know about the likely Widowmine drop that's coming, since he apparently lost an Adept to one of the Widowmines. He saw it on cooldown there for a split second, so he should be getting everything in position to help defend against that. He's got 3 Stalkers out, which is enough to defend one of the mineral lines, so another warp in or so, and he should actually be set to cover both mineral lines. Doesn't have to worry too much about the 3rd base right now since, you know, no workers there.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, I'm surprised to see him warp in a Stalker. I guess trying to help out on the retreat. It's really hard to have enough Stalkers to actually kill the Widowmine drop, right? Especially when only on 2 gateways. So you do have to do some micro. 1 probe there, and the main base shouldn't go any better. Ooh, it's a bit late in the pool there. Ooh, good. Yeah, not going to go any better.
I love watching when it's like, you know, if you're just grouping and boxing all of your workers and sending them in one direction, it's like if you do it early enough, it's like the greatest, it's the best response. If you do it just like a quarter of a second or like a 1/10 of a second too late, it's the worst possible response.
Yeah, exactly. If you look back and the Widowmine's already burrowed, just don't move your probes. Like you just take the damage of what it is. 6 is still better than losing all 20, right? We are going to have a follow-up in the charge, a single forge. You know, many of us remember a time where it was always double forge with this Twilight Council opener, but it's really changed away from that. And a lot of gateways already going down, so it is still going to be a heavy emphasis on charge lot and trying to bop the beginning push. Because we don't even have that many Stalkers, although that Stalker did just get a Marauder, which is quite nice.
Yeah, most definitely. And remember, if you have Blink, you can even do cute things where you just say, well, I have shield regen, so I can kind of poke forward. If I have the extra APM for it, and I'm not too worried about Stim about to finish up, I can kind of poke forward, hit the bunker a little bit, back off as each Stalker takes shield damage, and just also tax my opponent's APM, force them to pull some SCVs off for repair, and just get ready potentially to go into that big push in that you were talking about, especially with Charge getting very close to finishing. Does he have a Warp Prism or anything?
No, I don't think he's going to push. I think he's just going to go, like, he's going to receive the push, but if HeRoMaRinE miscalculates, there's actually going to be, like, a decent amount of charge lots, potentially. So, I mean, they're not going to have +1 armor, and that's what's kind of worrying me right now, is HeRoMaRinE is going to have all of his upgrades, plus he might be able to get an anti-armor missile. I feel like he got the Raven because he has been DT rushed in the past as a desperate attempt to kill him. But this can obviously help in the main engagement. Widowmine drop still trying to at least distract SKillous, and it has. I don't see a lot of units here. There's the charge lots coming in now, but still no +1 armor.
Yeah, Charge Lot's finally going to be moving forward and get choked up on the ramp, so decide to back off to the shield battery. Nice set of force field. Even with the medevacs over here, the potentially pick up, it's a little bit dangerous when there's so many Stalkers over here. The shield battery overcharge being in range of those zealots that were on the ramp was so clutch over there, though. And I think Skills really wants to be able to keep that Robo alive, but is not going to be able to do so.
I guess it was a tough call to try and recharge that Robo or just let it die. That really sucks, actually. So, I mean, first of all, if he was able to, like, smack this down, there's, like, really no counterattack without a Warp Prism being made. And then those Widowmines, I mean, they're not going to have Cloak, but still, the lack of observers and lack of just observer production from the get-go can be worrying for the rest of the game. And that is a lot of Widowmines that's, well, they're going to fire once. That might be all they need. That is so much damage to take. The aggressive Blink Floor also just demolishes the Stalkers. They need those Zealots on the front lines to buffer for them. And a couple of DTs are doing damage. It's going to make up for the army deficit.
Yeah, I guess one kind of funny thing, though, is that if those DTs, I know one DT is the only one that's still left alive, are able to do a bit more. Well, I was going to say you can maybe work in some DTs defensively, but the Dark Triangle looking like it's going to be under fire very soon as the Zealots start to evaporate, the Stalkers start to disappear, and there's going to be the GG. SKillous taps out. HeRoMaRinE